All right, how y'all doing? So this week we're going to dive back into rap music since everybody seems to enjoy it last time. This time I'm going to talk about my top five favorite rap groups. This is more than two members. I'm actually aiming for more than three because every group that I got here has more than three members. so I'm going to give my favorite album. I'm going to give five or six or eight or whatever of my favorite songs that they've made. And I'm gonna try to explain, put it into words, why each one is on the list and why. All right, so let's start with number five. Number five, I'm gonna go with the Hot Boys, and my favorite album is the Guerrilla Warfare, which is essentially it is a quintessential Southern rap album. I mean, it is a beautiful, fresh production with Manny Fresh, not just Manny Fresh, not to be not to use a pun, but the production was fresh for the time. It had the southern beats to it, the boom boom. The very twerk heavy tracks. You started saying that kind of stuff, but it was still raw and and lyrical. It was also very street. It was also quite creative, and each different member of the team brought their own style, or at least they brought their own vibe. Specifically, when you look at the lyricism of Juvenile, which I believe was the backbone of the entire Cash Money enterprise, was the fact that Juvie could write lyrics and hooks. BG has such tremendous charisma. I mean, he's just a charisma machine. Like he doesn't always even pronounce words correctly, but but he didn't have to because BG just sounded cool. Now that's partly because of heroin, right? He was snorting heroin at this time. So that's partly why he was so goddamn laid back. But BG was just so laid back, and he just seemed like this shit. He was above a lot of this shit. But at the same time, he was kind of grimy too. And his interplay with Lil Wayne, genius shit. Because Lil Wayne was like 15, 16 when they started making these albums. He wasn't even cussing on records. So and of course you had Wayne, who was really young, brought a different style to it. He would, of course, not come into his own till about 2000. So that was what, maybe 2 or 3 years after this album. He really kind of started, really kind of becoming the Lil Wayne that everybody knows. And Turk, well, Turk is Turk. Turk is Turk. There was a reason Turk didn't have an album until like 2004 or whatever. But I love the Hot Boys. This album, Juvenile 400 Degrees, changed my life. Legit. Like it sounded like some bullshit because I had heard so much great rap up to that point, but I really did not rank Southern rap outside of Outkast until I really sat down and listened to 400 Degrees. And that shit was amazing. It's one of the best Southern rap albums ever produced, period. By anybody. Including Scarface, including T.I., and including UGK, including everybody. 400 Degrees is something else. But the Hot Boys, I really enjoyed the Hot Boys. Now, five favorite songs, all of them are from the same album. Because really, I know they have an album before this, Get It How You Live. I, I mean, it was like one song on there that I kind of liked, but I was like, not really. But all of these songs are off Guerrilla Warfare. So I love Respect My Mind. I love that song. You Dig is a Juvenile is a solo song for Juvenile. And it got the stadium rocking, kind of feel to it. It's really dope. Tuesdays and Thursdays, that's something that everybody's heard. If you've above the age of 25, you probably have heard this album at least 2 or 3 times. Tuesdays and Thursdays, We on Fire, the single. The music video to this song has actually made me a huge fan of it. The album version is cool, but the music video made me a super fan of We on Fire. And my favorite Hot Boy song, period, Riding. It's so grimy. It's so dark. And the beat just fits so perfectly. And you got you got the Lil Wayne and BG on the hook going back and forth. Oh man. Talk about chemistry. Them boys was killing it. That was some really dope shit. Number four, Niggas with Attitudes, NWA, a foundational rap group. NWA is absolutely Run DMC taken to Run DMC times 10. Okay? It is insane. Like the production style is very similar to Run DMC, but it is next level. NWA is foundational. Um, Now, including every song that I'm about to mention, is essentially something else. And everybody knows, best album they ever made, one of the greatest rap albums of all time, Straight Outta Compton. Tremendous album. You know, Dr. Dre did a good job of changing styles as far as what he was doing before he was in the NWA. This is the second NWA album, Straight Outta Compton. The first one was NWA and the Posse. Don't remember what year they came out. I think it was in '86. But of course, I had to go back and listen to this stuff because I was just being born around this time. I was probably just learning to walk. But NWA is tremendous. For a lot of the earlier songs, a lot of it was written by Ice Cube. And then their later stuff, a lot of it, the pen duties went over to MC Ren. So when you look at the group, you had, oh God, was it DJ Yella? DJ Yella and Dre handling a lot of the production, with a lot of the production being Dr. Dre. Then you had the penning duties because Eazy-E can't write for shit. so somebody had to write his lyrics. So Ice Cube wrote pretty much every word that came out of Eazy-E's mouth up until the point when he left the group. And then MC Ren was writing all the words in Eazy-E's mouth. But Eazy-E's style, he was the front man of the NWA because he was the gangster. Like, he was the guy who was really out there doing the shit. He gave everybody else his street credibility because Eric Wright was a fucking nut. He had a Napoleon complex. He's like super short. And it was like, the short, tough guy. But Eazy-E was the personality of the group. He was also one of the money guys. Obviously, we already know the story of NWA as far as, who put the money up to start the record label and all that stuff. All that stuff was Eazy. He was the businessman. But there was like 400 motherfuckers in NWA at first. And then it got down to like the core five of MC Ren, DJ Yella, Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, and it was somebody else. I was about to say the DOC, but he was kind of ancillary. DOC's album that spun out of this whole ordeal was tremendous. No one could do it better. One of the best rap albums ever. But straight up, NWA, you can't go wrong with an NWA song. So I'm gonna have to give you some because the thing is, a lot of Straight Outta Compton, there's 2 or 3 songs from Straight Outta Compton that are actually just remixes of songs that came out on NWA and the Posse. And the remix versions are not always better, but we're gonna hit some of my favorite songs. But Straight Outta Compton is an album you can play all the way through. You don't have to touch nothing. You can just let it run. But one of my favorite songs from NWA is not from Straight Outta Compton. It's actually from 100 Miles and Running, which is the post Ice Cube album. Which doing NWA without Ice Cube was a huge mistake. But, they was living in the moment. They didn't know any better. So the song is actually 100 Miles and Running. I actually do love that song. This song was, of course, mostly written by MC Ren, who took over as lead MC. MC Ren is dope. Believe it or not, he is. But he's no Ice Cube, Ice Cube just had everything as far as the charisma, the personality, the skill, the intensity, technique. He's just different level than MC Ren. But MC Ren is dope. But I really like 100 Miles and Running. I have a tie for song 4. I got 8 Ball. Yeah, I really love that song. And I Ain't the One. I Ain't the One is about, chicks asking for money and trying to get her hair done and all that shit. And Ice Cube like, I ain't the one. Get out of here. They went hard. Like, a bitch is a bitch is, life ain't nothing but bitches and money. It's like NWA went there, dog. They were not afraid at all of being seen as misogynists. They were telling the truth. These broads are out here to take advantage of you. And they were kind of rough. Gangsta Gangsta was the 3rd song I got, Straight Outta Compton. Tremendous record. Gangsta Gangsta is tremendous, man. You could play that joint. I never get tired of hearing it. Dope Man. There's 2 different versions of Dope Man. There's the original version, which is on NWA and the Posse, and then there's the version that is on straight out of Compton. I prefer the original versions of this and the number one song, but Dope Man is fire. I mean, and number one, Boys in the Hood. I mean, Boys in the Hood is a foundational rap song, period. As far as when you look at what songs changed the entire industry, Boys in the Hood is that and Fuck the Police. And I didn't put Fuck the Police on here, but Fuck the Police and Boys in the Hood take you to we are off and running when it comes to gangster rap. Now they didn't start gangster rap, for the record. Ice-T was doing it before them somewhat, and Schoolie D, I believe in Philadelphia, was doing it before them. He was doing gangster rap, but it was kind of on a smaller scale. NWA is when gangster rap went national, and everybody was like, these dudes are calling women bitches, and they talking about shooting people, and they got guns in the video. They wild, they crazy. I love NWA. You just cannot go wrong with NWA. It's tremendous shit. Number 3, the Wu-Tang Clan. Oh man, the Wu. See, I don't need to even give people too much when it comes to the Wu-Tang Clan, right? I mean, when you just look at the roster of guys, it was 9 official members of the Wu-Tang Clan. 9. That's a lot of dudes. Unfortunately, like 6 of them I didn't care for. Okay, so that's why they're so low on the list, because I was like, Wu-Tang is number 1 for a lot of people. But when I sat down and listened to Wu-Tang, I was like, man, I'm really only listening to Raekwon, Ghost, and Meth. That's really it. RZA can't rap for shit. Like he's handling the bulk of the production, and the production, of course, is next level, and it's actually a trendsetter as far as mixing in the kung fu movies and all that kind of stuff. It was real different, real genre bending, as far as sampling from weird places. RZA is one of the greatest producers of all time. Some people may consider him the best producer of all time. He's one of them for sure. But when I look at the roster of guys like Inspector Deck, he's cool. Master Killer, he's not Master Killer, it's Jizza. Jizza, he's cool. But I have to be in a mood to listen to them. And I just don't, sometimes I'm just not feeling it. But I can sit down and listen to Raekwon, Ghostface Killer, or Method Man at any point in time. And those dudes, they're just, it's tremendous. Like the Raekwon and Ghost, their chemistry is excellent, especially when they started doing the solo albums. Now, Iron Man was the solo album for Ghostface Killer, which really wasn't a solo album because there was like Wu-Tang niggas all through it. Same thing with Only Built for Cuban Links, which was supposed to be like a Raekwon album, but it's basically Raekwon, Ghost, and a bunch of and everybody else, But Only Built for Cuban Links, of course, is one of the greatest rap albums ever. But it's got like 100 features all over it, And I always take shots off of features. I think that you should be able to stand on your own. But Wu-Tang Clan, you can't go wrong. But you also have ODB, who couldn't really rap. He didn't write his own lyrics. Some of these niggas is boring. They get off into the 5% Nation stuff, and you just kind of like, And then they had all the weirdos where, Capadonna, who sometimes he's okay, sometimes he's not. Sometimes he's the shits. And then you'll have all the other random Wu-Tang sound-alike dudes. And when I was a kid, man, it was hard for me to get through that. I was just kind of like, I don't know who's in the group and who isn't, because there's like 500 people on the stage all the time. There's like 600 people in the music video. I'm just like, what is going on? So, Ghostface is basically a cartoon character. He basically jumps out at you because Ghostface is insane. And his style is, it's very unstructured. It seemed like they may put the beats around Ghostface because he just goes out there and just says stuff. And then there's other times where he is really flowing, like that's more of a Method Man thing, more of a Raekwon thing, when you try to find the beat and you just kind of ride it. Ghostface just kind of goes out there and does his thing, and if it rhymes, good. If it doesn't, great. But you could tell he puts a lot of effort into what he's doing. But at the same time, he doesn't put as much effort in as like Jizza. Jizza wants to, he thinks he's fucking Rakim, Like sometimes these guys get too lyrical. You could be too lyrical schmirical, and I just kind of be like, ugh. But that's kind of what ends up happening to But when it comes to when everything is going together, not many better than Wu-Tang Clan. So my favorite album, obviously, Enter the 36 Chambers. You have to listen to that whole album. Like, Enter the 36 Chambers is one of those albums that you have to play all the way through. Like, you can't, it's hard to pick songs out of it. It's like, it's hard to explain sometimes how most of my favorite Wu-Tang songs are not on this album, but the album is a cohesive piece of work. It's the best shit they've ever done as far as a complete piece of work. But like my favorite songs are not on this album. I got 2 or 3. 2, is Can It All Be So Simple? I mean, when you got that sample, and they used it again, I believe, for a different album, Can It All Be So Simple then? What else? They used it for another song. I think it might have been a Ghostface song. Or was it a Raekwon song? But they used the sample again. But It's Yours from Wu-Tang Forever, the double CD. That song is crazy. It's Yours is crazy. Triumph is crazy too. I love a good posse cut when there's like 4 or 5 people on the track and you got to do something to make everybody fit. And then they have like the half verses from Raekwon and Ghost on there. But of course you got I think it's Expected Deck that started it. And whenever I think of New York rap, I think of that song. Specifically, A Bomb Atomically, Socrates' philosophies and hypotheses, Aristotle these mockeries. And I just be like, that's when I think of New York, that's the first thing I think of is Expected Deck hanging on the goddamn side of the building. And then You God hanging from a tree. And I'll just be like, wow, that was a time, dog. I was 14 when that album came out. It came out in like 97, right? If it came out in 97, I'd have been about 13, 14 years old. But Triumph is, I play that joint, just cuz. Cream, obviously, foundational rap record, changed the business. It showed a lot. It woke everybody up to what they were doing over there. But my number one favorite Wu-Tang song is actually Visions. Visions off of Wu-Tang Forever. Just when you play the beat to that song, just go play the song, just listen to the production of it, how dark it is. And then you get to the verses and you just like, man, it's hard to beat. As far as the Wu-Tang records, it's hard to beat. And, I'm not really the... Now, after this album, after Wu-Tang Forever, I have a hard time even keeping up with what material was even done by Wu-Tang. If we being honest, because I kind of was like, okay, the group is cool and all, but I'm more of a Ghostface fan, more of a Method Man, Raekwon. I kind of spin out into that, and I know a lot of people really love like Liquid Swords and all that kind of stuff. I was like, I fell asleep on Liquid Swords a bunch of times. I ended up finishing it, but I fell asleep on it a bunch of times. Expected Deck and some of those guys, I never even touched the stuff. But Raekwon, Ghost, and Meth, I'm good with. They are tremendous guys. I know they did a trio album actually. I forgot what it was called, but they also did an album with the Locks. I thought that was pretty dope too. But I love Wu-Tang Clan. It's when it's done right, it's dope. When they're at each other's throats and shit's not coming out right, then it happens to them not coming out right. But I spent a lot of time talking about Wu-Tang, so let's move on. Number 2 favorite rap group, A Tribe Called Quest. Man, I mean, oh boy, I don't even know where to begin with A Tribe Called Quest. You talk about a group that is jazzy, eclectic, they're witty, they're slick, they can talk about different things, and they had range. They weren't scared of just doing random songs that didn't seemingly make any sense. Like I left my wallet in El Segundo. Like what does that even mean? like what does that even mean? Like so, like that whole first album was just basically nonsense. There was another Lucian with the beats and everything. It was just like a beat and somebody talking about their French friend. I think it was Q-Tip talking about his French friend. I'm like, what the hell? This song makes no sense. But that was a certain genre of rap at the time where it was really, really artsy. Where they were, guys who were backpackers and vinyl diggers, and they would, all of them were vinyl diggers at the time, but they just went and they hit the jazz records. Q-Tip did the bulk of the production most of this time, and Ali Shaheed did some too. And Jerobi Wright helped with some of the raps sometimes. Then in the later years, they started getting a lot of Jay Dilla involved in the albums. But Q-Tip alone is an excellent producer. He's very underrated as a producer, and he produced a lot of the better shit that they made. But that first album was a little too weird for me. Okay, like it was okay. It was a little too weird for me. My favorite album though, Low End Theory. Again, one of the greatest rap albums ever made. A great mixture of jazz and hip hop. Not necessarily rap, because they were struggling like to be relevant when everybody was going gangsta. Everybody's doing the gangster rap thing, and Q-Tip and Fife and all these guys are struggling to just do plain old fun house party hip hop. And here come all these dudes with fuck the police, and we're gonna kill everybody. We're gonna throw everybody out of the window, throw people down the steps, and they're trying to make Cosby friendly shit. But it was still sort of mature at the same time. It wasn't like childish, but it was a lot of innuendo. Where they wouldn't be as explicit as other rap records would be. Like around the same time, you had, I believe, Two Live Crew and all that kind of stuff coming out, and that stuff was just plain vulgar, But Tribe Called Quest was for people who listen to poetry and could catch in the lyrics that they were talking about mature subjects, but they weren't vulgar, And it was something that you could play around your kids and stuff like that, and it was great shit. Like Tribe Called Quest is awesome. Low End Theory is an album you have to play all the way through. You really do. It's as a cohesive piece of work, it's tremendous. This and the next one, I believe it's Midnight Marauders. I think that's what it's called. I hope I didn't get that title wrong. I'm doing a lot of this stuff off the top of my head. But so some of the factual errors might be a little off. The timeline might be off too. Because I think that Low End Theory came out in 1992. I want to say 1992. Which would have been the same year of Two Live Crew, but it would have been years after NWA. But you still had a lot of groups basically doing fuck the police kind of records and shit like that, though. You had Ice-T doing like the body count stuff just around the same time. So you had a lot of guys really just going out there and just being vulgar, and Tribe Called Quest was like De La Soul, who I don't like, by the way. They were trying to be radio friendly, and they tried to cut out a market for themselves. And this is the kind of stuff that backpackers listen to today. This kind of stuff in Arrested Development, this kind of backpacker music now. Like most people don't even rate the Tribe Called Quest anymore, and it's really unfortunate considering the Fife, Fife as an MC really didn't get his flowers, especially when he was alive. He did not get his flowers, and it was all because it was about a different style. It was about that hardcore gangster rap style around this time, and these dudes are more radio friendly, but they're not as successful. So let's talk about the favorite songs. See, I got Once Again from Beats, Rhymes, and Life. I believe this was produced by Jay Dilla. Fife. Go listen to Fife's verse from this. It's tremendous. See, my next one song is Electric Relaxation. I think that's from Midnight Marauders. This is the song that ended up paying for the Wayans brothers, and most people know this song from that, from the Wayans brothers. Song is tremendous though. Like it's really good. Check the Rhyme. Check the Rhyme. Don't need to say anymore. Check the Rhyme is a classic. Another one is Butter from Low End Theory. Butter, tremendous. It's a tremendous record. I'm pretty sure I could name a lot of songs off of there. I'm trying to not bury everybody in one album. I try to hit, every album that they've made, or at least made together, or at least during their height. So Butter is one of my favorite songs. It's really good. So you also got, Bonita Applebaum, You Gotta Put Me On. I really love that song too. And it's sort of a coming of age song. But it's a little bit more mature. But my favorite song is probably Bugging Out. I love Bugging Out by Tribe Called Quest. It's my favorite Tribe Called Quest song. It's like Tribe Called Quest to me is when you look back at the early 90s, right? And you look at what were they making at the time before everybody went gangster rap, right? It was the house party movies, like that was hip hop culture. When you saw what the fuck Kid and Play, right? When you saw that kind of stuff that they were making, where it was kind of raunchy, but it wasn't vulgar, you could watch it with kids, but you can watch it and you didn't have to worry about, people getting shot, people getting killed. Somebody might get beat up, but it was family friendly hip hop. And Tribe Called Quest is like encased in amber, that's sort of the style of the time. And it's unfortunate that we didn't get to keep that because, we went from House Party and Spike Lee films, which strangely enough, I love Spike Lee movies. They're hard to watch now because they're so poorly, there's so much propaganda in them and they're so poorly put together. But I was a huge fan of Spike Lee movies not too long ago. I should actually do movies next week. Do my favorite movies. But which most of them would be Spike Lee movies, to be honest. So like when I think of like Spike Lee films and House Party and early 90s rap, I think of Tribe Called Quest. And I know they weren't alone. Again, I mentioned De La Soul. I know that Brand Nubian was out around the same time. I think they're a little bit older though. I think Brand Nubian was out in the 80s. But that sort of style was really big at the time, and it just didn't stick. We could have been growing from that. We could have been growing from Tribe Called Quest and De La Soul and that era. Instead, we ended up getting, everybody wants to do NWA and Ice-T and shit like that. So, unfortunate. But it worked out because some of this stuff was ended up being really good. A lot of it ended up being shit, but some of it was actually really good. All right, so let's talk about the Roots. Now, when it comes to the Roots, they are, on a different level. Now, some people might not consider them a rap group because there's really only one rapper in the group, sometimes two. It's mostly a band that has a rapper in it. Black Thought is the rapper. Questlove is the drummer. I don't remember. They usually change other members. So usually those two are the main two front guys for the Roots. But when it comes to, like, if I was building a playlist of rap groups, there would probably be as much of number one and number two as far as Tribe Called Quest. But it'd probably be as much of the Roots. I love the Roots. It is the kind of stuff that you can sit down and just listen to, and be doing anything else. Like it's perfect for if you just want to, like, going for a walk. It's great for that. It's great for if you're trying to write, if you're trying to think, if you're reading. It's just, and it's engaging, because it has great instrumentals because it's a band. So the instrumentals are already top notch. And then when they do have outside producers, it's sometimes like Jay Dilla, or somebody like that. So that helps, but I love the Roots. And if it were, for rappers, it would probably be on this list. But it's really only one rapper, sometimes two. Sometimes, they'll have an extra rapper in the group. But it's a 4-member band. So I'm gonna try to sneak them in here because it's a 4-member band. So let's talk about the Roots because my favorite album of theirs is How I Got Over. As much as I love all of the earlier material, that stuff post 2000 really hit different. Game theory, phrenology, that stuff is. I mean, the Roots is real mature. Like it's real. Going to the, being near to the grill with a bottle of wine. It's kind of like listening to Sade. Where it's real adult, and I can't escape it. How dope it is. So since I don't know where else to put the Roots, I'm gonna put the Roots in my favorite rap groups, but I'm gonna put them in as sort of a bonus because it's gonna be very hard for me to place them with only one rapper in a group subject. So, but Black Thought on his own is one of the greatest MCs ever, and it took a long time before people really started recognizing it, but I think we got there. He's no longer a backpack favorite. He's just a somebody that everybody loves. So let's talk about so How I Got Over is a very cohesive album. It sounds very different from their earlier material, which was sound. It did sound very much like it was mostly a band at first, where most of the songs would be heavy instrumentals, occasionally with a verse here and there, and then sort of Black Thought started to kind of take over. It's like slowly but surely it became a rap group, with through the power of Black Thought's vocals, and of course they hit with one of my favorite songs, You Got Me, which is Erica Badu. Most everybody has heard of that. And because that was pretty much the most successful single they had up to that point, they started doing like kind of versions of it where they did like Break You Off with Music Soul Child, and they tried to do Complexity with Jill Scott. So, but they found their sound like that neo soul sound that I really hate to put people in genres because I really don't understand genres. But neo soul, for people who might not know what it is soul music. Think Curtis Mayfield, think Marvin Gaye, but it's posted in the hip hop era. So Jill Scott and Erica Badu would be neo soul. Chrisette Michele would have been neo soul, but she got canceled. But I just have so many favorite songs from the Roots. It's gonna be hard to pick 5 or 6 or whatever, or even 8. So Don't Feel Right. You got Guns Drawn. You got Living in a New World, Clock with No Hands. I mean that's real something else, man. But the songs from How I Got Over, the Fire, even though it features John Legend, who I really don't care about, his vocals on that record were tremendous vocals on that joint, and it's inspirational. Like it's a real inspirational song. It's about pushing through, having the passion to move forward. And then you got Walk Alone. Then you got the album Rising Down rather, which the song Rising Up, which is Chrisette Michele and Wale. Which is the first time I ever heard Wale, and I was tricked into thinking Wale was great for a couple of years. 75 bars. That's if you're just interested in rap. Just sit down and Black Thought can give you 75 bars. It's insane. Um, so I could go on and on about the Roots, but now let's get into number one. Number one favorite rap group of all time, Bone Thugs in motherfucking Harmony. Okay. Now I literally I got for Christmas on my 10th birthday, not 10th, 12th. I got 3 tapes, cassette tapes. I got Boys to Men. I got Mr. Smith by LL Cool J. And I got East 99 Eternal by Bone Thugs and Harmony. I got a radio and I got 3 tapes. They were real tapes, they weren't bootlegs. So I was kind of impressed. I didn't even bother opening the Boys to Men tape. I probably played the LL Cool J tape once or twice. I have a healthy respect of LL Cool J, just not of that album. That album was not my favorite. But Bone Thugs and Harmony, I played the tape until they took it from me. It it's now thinking back on it, it was it was just like magic. There's something about like it was a mixture of the Temptations and NWA. You know, like you had the literal, like the name is literal, like thugs in harmony. You know, like they're literally harmonizing. They're literally singing in some of these fucking songs. You know, but it's dark and it's about shooting people. You know, and so you're like, what? I don't know how to feel. Like you don't know how to feel about these guys, and they're talking about Ouija boards. And that was the kind of shit that pissed my mama off. And she started hearing about Ouija boards. She was like, "Oh hell no! Nah. You could talk about shooting people and smoking weed all day." When she started hearing like I think it was the opening of East 99 Eternal when they're doing the backwards talk. She was like, "Nope, no demonic shit. We're not doing that." Only got 2 tapes ever taken from me. East 99 Eternal and It's Dark and Hell is Hot. When she heard DMX, she was like, nope, absolutely not. She took that one too. I was a little bit older at that point and she wanted to take it. I ended up taking that one back, but I was a kid when East 99 Eternal came out. So, but Bone Thugs and Harmony, to me, when you talk about chemistry, none better. No, you can't match the style of Bone Thugs. They didn't create it. Now, there's a lot of people who say like they found it, the style. They really didn't. And I'm not saying like, oh, Twista did it first, or who was them 3-6 Mafia, they did it first. It's like, no. They mixed the rap and the R&B style, but people had did it before them. Like the tongue twister style actually comes from Kool Moe Dee, if I remember correctly. I remember hearing a Kool Moe Dee record that was actually tongue twisting right before, before Twista even. Twista was actually out before Bone. But when Bone came out, they weren't just doing the rap style. They were also doing like, again, the harmony. They could do a cappella records and kill because they were helping the beats that they were on. The beats didn't matter. So they were basically just, we can flow on anything because their style is so versatile that they didn't need one specific production style in order to do what they do. And we can see, like they were able to hold on a lot longer than they should have, because they were so versatile and were able to adapt to different styles. So they was able to go through different generations. They was able to go from the hardcore early to mid 90s, slide a little bit into the more R&B-ish late 90s, and then into the commercial 2000s. Like they were still getting like Grammy nominations in 2007, and they came out in like 1994. Like nobody, not even Wu-Tang was doing that. And I know everybody really loved Wu-Tang, but even they weren't doing that, So it's when Bone is on and and all of them are together, because that became a big issue around album 3. So that's another reason why I think they're one of the greatest rap groups of all time. They started having problems at album number 3, when it started being a lot of Crazy Bone, not so much Busy, So, you started being like, there's a suspicious amount of Crazy Bone on this album. And, you Busy's off doing whatever Busy does, making more babies and getting in trouble. But he was a kid when these albums were made. Dude started rapping at 14, like Lil Wayne. He was a child prodigy when it comes to rap. And it's kind of strange that he really just turned 40 just a couple of years ago, I think. So like these dudes were really young. And that's another reason why I really kind of felt it, because they didn't feel like they were much older than me. They just had a style that just captured, what we were looking for. And it was very radio friendly. It could be raw, but it was also very radio friendly too. But I know there's officially 5 members of Bone Thugs and Harmony, but when it comes to who signed with Eazy-E, it was only 4 of them: Busy, Lazy, Crazy, and Wish. I think Flesh was left behind during the trip or whatever. I forget the origin story, but he wasn't there. But he was. You could see him on the album cover. He's kind of in the shade in the back because he was all through the album. He was there spiritually, but he was technically didn't. He wasn't in the group. but he's Lazy Bone's brother, so of course he's in the group, right? so, so but when you break down, well, some people don't like Bone because of the style. Stylistically, you can't really hear what they're saying. Like you have to be trained to listen to Bone Thugs and Harmony because the words are there. It's not, people used to be like, oh, Busy Bone is rapping in Spanish. It's like, for starters, he's Italian. But no, he's not rapping in Spanish. He just has a real light voice. And I remember when they actually made his first solo album, Heaven's Movie. They actually put the lyrics in the goddamn cassette booklet, so you can read the lyrics as he's rapping. But those songs were like tremendously short. That album was like the album had potential to be one of the better albums ever, and it was still pretty dope. But I think they couldn't get some samples cleared, so the album was like real short. And he's probably having problems with Eric Eazy-E's wife. So, but that it really butchered that. But the early Bone albums were really fucking good. The later ones are now the ones in like post 2010. I can't even support a lot of those. But up until like 2007, they were still doing good. And then they still did some dope shit not too long ago with the Busy and the Crazy album. I even thought that was pretty good. So the length of time that they were able to do what they do, but the major thing is they started falling apart fairly fast. They started falling apart before their fourth album. That's why they had those collection albums that came out. They couldn't. They didn't want to kick Busy out the group, but he was out the group. Like he was out. He was unofficially kicked out of the group. So he was officially kicked out of the group. I think when they made the big deal with Swiss Beats. I forget what year that was. Was it 2005, 2006, 2007, something like that? He was officially kicked out of the group then. That's when they signed a record deal without him, and he was bugging. I remember that. That was an ugly time to be a Bones fan, dog. And it wasn't because of the Swiss Beats album. It was good, but they were having problems, and they started making diss records on each other. And I was just like, oh God, I don't like that. Like I didn't like it when RZA and Raekwon fell out either. I was like, no, don't do that. I love battle rap beefs, but not between dudes who I think like you're brothers. Like don't do that. But let me get into this list. Okay, so best album, obviously East 99 Eternal. As a solid, cohesive project, East 99 Eternal is as good as it gets. I could go on and on about Bone songs. I can give you Bone songs from album 5 or album 6 that I really loved. But I'm going to try to limit to the first 3, which would be Creeping Up on the Come Up from 1994, 3 or 4. Then you had East 99 Eternal, which came out like 95 or 96. And then you had Art of War, which was a double album, came out in 97, 98. There was a time when everybody had to do a double album. That was the gimmick. Double albums were the gimmick. So I'm going to give you just hit some songs. For the Love of Money, my favorite Bone single is For the Love of Money. You had Eazy-E. This felt like that's what Bone should have been. And if Eazy had stayed alive, that's what they would have been. It would have been For the Love of Money. You probably wouldn't be able to hit that, catch the magic of that all over again. But For the Love of Money is my favorite Bone single. First of the month, obviously. You can't, I still hear that song on the first of every month. I still hear it. So those two foundational rap songs, much like Cream, much like Boys in the Hood, those are evergreen records that you're going to hear them all the time. So I really love No Surrender from Creeping Up on the Come Up. It's just so fucking hard. Like it's a hard track, and it's, man, you could tell that Eazy-E was pushing them towards being more like the NWA at the time, but that was tremendous. Creeping Up on the Come Up wasn't bad. A lot of the pre-Eazy-E stuff was kind of okay too, but their style was different. But No Surrender is kind of like probably, along with For the Love of Money, probably what Eazy-E wanted them to be. So from there, I got Mr. Bill Collector from East 99 Eternal. Uh, tremendous album, tremendous album, tremendous song too. Mr. Bill Collector is great. Look Into My Eyes from The Art of War. I man, those first few songs from The Art of War, hard, and the beats are significantly softer, and the production got softer for Bone as they got older. It became more radio friendly. But I really like Look Into My Eyes. It's tremendous. Uh, and Mo Murder, my favorite Bone song. You know, I think that encapsulates what Bone is. That kind of showed you who the group is. Even when after Eazy-E died, like this is what the group is now. The group is what Mo Murder, Shots to the Double Glock. You know, no shorts, no losses. You know, stuff like that was like, okay, that's what Bone is now. And then the next, on Art of War, you have Body Rot. Like Body Rot is tremendous. You had a lot of you had a lot of such you had a lot of shit on Art of War, man. But that's when they started doing solo songs. And I'm always like, when rap groups and duos of shit and they're doing solo records, you're like, But from later songs, I really liked Thug World Order. It was very soft. Like they had gone soft for sure. But they had leaned more heavily into the actual harmony of Bone Thugs and Harmony. So you had If I Fall, which is, back when I was religious, that was one of my favorite songs. All the Way, Money Money. This is from album 5, I believe. 4, I believe, was Resurrection. So you had what was on Resurrection? I think Battle Zone, 9 Glocks. You also had The Righteous Ones. The intro to Resurrection. It's, man. And then you had the joint. What was album 6? Album 6 was it the trio album with Swiss Beats, which was like 2 or 3 years after Thug World Order? It's longer than that, I believe. It's probably like 6 or 7 years. But I could just go on and on. That's when they started putting features on it. It was too many features at that point. But Bone Thugs and Harmony, done songs with Biggie, Tupac, Snoop Dogg, Ice Cube, DMX, Big Pun. They've done songs with pretty much everybody. Especially a lot of the people who have passed on. Like Bone is like one of the only groups that did songs with everybody. And we kind of sat back and was waiting for either there was supposed to be a Bone Wu-Tang thing. I heard it was supposed to happen. It never did happen. But it was, when you look at, they are very underrated. When you look at their body of work, it's hard to it's easy to say when they fell off, and they weren't the same as when they were creeping up on the come up or East 99 Eternal. It's easy to say, okay, well, they fell off like everybody did. It's just about they fell off last. Like Outkast kind of hit the wall on album 4. And it was kind of like, boop, oh shit. Like, it kind of went downhill from there. Now, I know people still really love Outkast, but, they kind of hit the wall. Hell, NWA stumbled after album number 2, because 100 Miles and Running, again, was a completely change of personnel because Ice Cube wanted out, so he took off, and same thing with Wu-Tang, where you started having guys started focusing more on their solo albums after Wu-Tang Forever. Things get kind of strange when it comes to Wu-Tang Clan. And the Hot Boys really only had the one album. It's very hard to keep groups together because they have to split the money. So it's inevitable that the groups are going to fall apart because it's always going to be somebody who think they should get paid more. That's why, socialism doesn't work. You think socialism works? Look at every rock band and every rap group. Eventually they fucking break up. They get tired of splitting money, and that's the problem. That's the root of all of the beefs and everybody getting in each other's faces and yelling at each other online and stuff is money. Raekwon and RZA fell off over money. You know, Busy Bone and Bone Thugs and Harmony fell out over money. Ice Cube and NWA fell out over money. You know, Hot Boys just kind of drifted apart. Even though well, no, it was money because BG and Juvenile were pissed about Manny Fresh was pissed too about Birdman not wanting to pay people. So these guys have to split 4 or 5 ways one check. It's bullshit. Why? You better off just doing your own thing. But then you figure out in some cases, like with Bone, they're more valuable together than they are apart. And their solo materials is pretty good too. But they're more valuable together than apart, which makes them the best rap group because as a group, they're fucking untouchable. Solo, they're good, but as a group, they're the best. NWA, look what Ice Cube was able to do. He became more popular than NWA. Hell, his first album, America's Most Wanted, was better than anything NWA did. And when he was a fucking member of the NWA. Likewise, Only Built for Cuban Links and Iron Man and Supreme Clientele, all this stuff that Ghostface did. Not that it can eclipse Wu-Tang, but it's a lot more known in the culture. People are more likely to sit down and listen to that than Enter the 36 Chamber when you got kung fu movies and shit going on in the background. I can just tell that sound is dated, and not for me because I really love it, but that's the root of the problem. We can't get good rap groups anymore because there's always money, people falling out. But thank you guys for listening. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.